And I would ask you the same, Secretary Rubio. But you have shown through your words and your actions what the answer is. And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State.
First of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job, based on what I know.
Well, that's
about
just
your
a
record.
flippant.
For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation. I don't regret psychosocial support services.
I raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr.
Senator,
Chairman, or do I go on? I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that.
All hell didn't just break loose. It straight up detonated. What went down in that hearing was one of the most tense, fiery, straight up awkward political train wrecks we've seen in years. Senator Chris Van Hollen rolled and loaded for bear. Agenda locked and loaded. But what happened next? Total script flip. Instead of dropping the haymaker, the whole thing turned into a brutal masterclass in pure composure, ice-cold confidence, and quiet, effortless dominance by Secretary Marco Rubio. The hearing kicked off normal enough, polite handshakes, procedural blah blah, everybody playing nice. Then Van Hollen decides it's time to lob a verbal hand grenade. With all the dramatic flair of a bad Broadway audition, he announces, loud and proud, that he regrets voting to confirm Rubio. He drops it like he's expecting the room to gasp, cheer, or at least give him the shock face emoji in real life. The delivery? Intense, theatrical, practically begging for a reaction. Problem is, the room didn't get the memo. No gasps, no applause, no stunned silence of awe, just confusion. Then straight up awkward, cricket silence. The uncomfortable kind that makes your skin crawl. Rubio doesn't even blink. No interruption, no eye roll, no defensive hunch. Just calm, locked in stillness, like he's watching a toddler throw a tantrum he already knows ends in timeout. And that silence, it landed harder than any snappy comeback ever could. Van Hollen starts talking faster, louder, piling on the drama, while Rubio sits there, like a guy who's already seen the ending credits. The contrast was almost funny. One side desperately trying to manufacture a viral moment, the other side letting the whole thing deflate under its own pathetic weight. Sometimes the most savage response is saying absolutely nothing, and this was textbook.
Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, you and I served together in Congress for 15 years. We didn't always agree, but I believe we shared some common values. A belief in defending democracy and human rights abroad, and honoring the Constitution at home. That's why I voted to confirm you. I believed you would stand up for those principles. You haven't. You've done the opposite. And you used to speak with conviction about the importance of foreign aid as a tool to advance American values and interests. Then you stood by while Elon Musk took a chainsaw to USAID and other assistance programs. That has left a staggering toll. Broken trust with countries, openings for China and other adversaries, and countless preventable deaths of children and others. Take Sudan, for example. The freezing of U.S. humanitarian assistance forced the closure of nearly 80% of the emergency food kitchens there. 2 million famine-affected people were left without access to food. People died because of those actions. Mothers, fathers, and children. Well, your first trip as Secretary of State was to El Salvador, not to promote democracy, but to cozy up to President Bukele, who calls himself the world's coolest dictator. The result was a cash for collusion deal to deprive people living in America of their constitutional rights to due process. The Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, instructed you to facilitate the return to the United States of Abrego Garcia, who the administration admitted was wrongfully deported to El Salvador. Your response? You've openly flouted judicial orders. When asked whether you have been in touch with El Salvador to return Abrego Garcia, you boasted, quote, "I would never tell you that. And you know who else I would never tell? A judge." Clearly, you don't care about the Fifth Amendment right to due process, and you don't care about the First Amendment either, since you've been very busy snatching students off of college campuses for exercising their right to free speech. You dredged up a relic from the McCarthy era to claim that student protesters posed a threat to the foreign policy of the United States. Give me a break, Mr. Secretary. You know as well as I do this isn't about national security, it's about punishing free speech. And you know that in America, the government doesn't get to use its power to punish speech it doesn't like. Yet in March, you boasted about revoking student visas, saying, and I'm quoting, "We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa," unquote. Let's look. The federal judge in the case of Mohsen Madawi, who is the Columbia student who was ambushed by federal agents at his citizenship appointment, said, and I quote, this is the judge, "Legal residents not charged with crimes or misconduct are being arrested and threatened with deportation for stating their views on the political issues of the day. Our nation has seen times like this before, especially during the Red Scare and Palmer raids. Like the McCarthy-era witch hunts of the 1950s, your campaign of fear and repression is eating away at foundational values of our democracy. Back then, it took one voice, Attorney Joseph Welch, to cut through the hysteria with the simple question that marked the beginning of the end of that shameful era. He asked Senator McCarthy, "Have you no sense of decency?" And I would ask you the same, Secretary Rubio. But you have shown through your words and your actions what the answer is. And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job, based on what I know.
Well, that's
about
just
your
a
record and
flippant
what you
statement,
stand
Mr.
for.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't ask
Senator,
question.
please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his.
Your time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well-
Your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman-
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I
do
can't
that.
respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I raised
don't regret
Sudan, Mr.
psychosocial
Secretary.
support services.
I
for
raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary,
Can I
not
respond, Mr.
Mozambique.
Chairman, or do I?
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes of
I chose
railing
to
on-
use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use my time
suspend,
that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come,
Mr.
you're
Chairman,
going to see who you went to
look,
defend.
Senator,
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
Senator,
comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court in the
Senator-
United States because
Well,
he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach that foreign partner and talk to them, I have under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and we've told them we've had communications with the president of El Salvador, I am under no obligation under our division of powers in this country and to share with the judicial branch how I conduct the diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts, or frankly, with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again, and we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order. What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas, and it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Ozturk did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she
And if you
did?
do
Come
that-
on, Mr. Secretary.
And every single
You're
one of
just
these
blowing
cases, the
smoke
factors
here
are
now.
different.
Senator-
The bottom line is if you're
Senator,
coming here
we-
to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you
Does
have
the
a
First
visa
Amendment
and we find
apply
you,
to
we'll
people
revoke
living
it.
in the United
And
States?
we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through a
Writing an
bunch of
op-ed
lunatics
to the
who are
tough
here on student
newspapers
visas.
disrupting the
Simple
foreign
as
policy
that.
of the United
I want to
States.
do more. I hope we can
That's
find more of these people.
pathetic, Mr.
In fact, the other
Secretary.
day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was, and I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus? Because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke it.
I feel so much safer
All right,
when you
let's,
lock up people like Ms. Osterk, Mr. Secretary.
We've had enough time on the subject. Thank you very much.
Van Hollen keeps going, tone getting sharper. But the actual substance, thinner than tissue paper. That big regret speech devolves into the same tired, recycled list of grievances, none of them hitting like they were scripted to. That's when the unintentional comedy really kicks in. The harder he swings to make this some historic gotcha moment, the more it feels like a sad, off-target rant. It's like watching a drunk guy throwing wild haymakers while the other dude just casually sidesteps every single one. Rubio didn't even need to defend himself. His record was already doing the heavy lifting. Then Rubio finally opens his mouth. Boom, instant shift, calm voice, direct, no-nonsense answers. Zero theatrics, zero fake emotion, just crystal clear, razor-sharp clarity. Every single response quietly dismantles the attack without ever turning up the heat. He doesn't escalate. He de-escalates, and that's what makes it lethal. The room goes from red-hot outrage to straight-up humbled in about 5 seconds flat. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. One side playing cheap politics, the other side handling actual responsibility. And right there, everybody saw who really owned the room. What was supposed to be a public embarrassment for Rubio, it backfired so hard it elevated him. Viewers didn't see a guy scrambling on defense. They saw restraint, discipline, straight-up leadership, while Van Hollen's yelling regret across the table like it's a mic drop. Real confidence is just sitting quietly on the other side, unbothered. If the goal was to rattle Rubio, mission failed spectacularly. All it did was expose raw frustration, not strength, and the difference was glaring. This hearing's gonna be remembered, all right, but not for the epic takedown Van Hollen dreamed of. It wasn't a reckoning. It wasn't a knockout. It was a stone-cold reminder that real strength doesn't need to scream, and actual leadership doesn't need a spotlight or special effects. Marco Rubio walked in confirmed, composed, and completely unshaken. He walked out exactly the same, maybe even stronger. If you're here for more of these fiery hearings, brutal political moments, and breakdowns that slice straight through the BS, smash that subscribe button right now. The next one's already loading, and it's gonna be savage.